Hello and welcome to this video on the new moon in Libra, which is happening on the 21st of October. It's a time of year where we can really feel the magic rising. I can for sure, and I hope you can too. So let's look a little more deeply at this upcoming moon. I think it's rather more positive than some of the moons that we've had lately. It is still part of a great sequence and theme that is unfolding at the moment for us. And like every new moon, it's a time of seed planting. It's a time where we can set a tone by what we're focusing on now at this new moon. And in doing that, we are firing arrows into the future, particularly into the spring of 2026, when so much will be happening which takes us forward in our world. So the Libran New Moon is on the 21st of October, imminently. I mean, that's coming up very soon, just the next day or two. In the UK, it will be occurring at just before 1:30 in the afternoon. You need to adjust for your time zone, whether you're east or west of that. And it's happening at 28 degrees and some minutes of Libra, so quite getting on towards the end of Libra. And the ruler of this new moon, Venus, is also in Libra, where it is incredibly happy, incredibly strong. So it's rather great that everything is lined up in Libra there, both the sun and the moon and the ruler of this new moon. And clearly this is a new moon that raises Libran themes. And there are many, they are to do with fairness, they're to do with balance, they're to do with peace, they're to do with reconciliation, they're to do with negotiation, they're to do with law and justice, also with beauty, harmony, creativity. So there are many aspects of this moon that are in seed form here, available to play out. And certainly this moon brings us an opportunity to find in our own lives a capacity to be creative, to create beauty, to create harmony, to tune into those things that give us deep pleasure. And also, because we're dealing with Venus here, to remember our sense of self-worth and how leaning in to those creative activities, even in a time of chaos, reminds us of the beauty of the world and of our place in it, and of the joyousness that we can find in life, even in the face of chaos and difficulty. And just another very interesting little detail here, for which I must credit the astrologer Kaylin Cattell, who made the observation that Venus, which is at 9 degrees 32 of Libra, is aligning with a fixed star called Porrima, which is a star of prophecy, which is a star of bringing in the future, of the prophetic notion of the future, which I think ties in very well with the idea of seeding new ideas, sending those arrows forward from a place of positivity. I would also make the observation that in this chart of the new moon, there's a lot of air, there's a lot of water. There's thinking and feeling, they're very strong. There's not much evidence of earth. And I think that again is to do with the prophetic nature of the moon, to do with the forward energies of the moon, dreaming in the future. Because I think we're looking at things that will embed in the spring when we get the conjunction, that conjunction of Neptune and Saturn. And I think that's when we will see the dreams earth and take form. There's an old adage about going backwards to come forwards, you know, and that's a little bit what we're doing at the moment. We have Uranus is retrograde, Ceres, Eris, Neptune, Saturn, you know, there's a lot of retrogradation with the slower moving planets here. And I think as well, because we're in this time of forming the future, of thinking what we're wanting for our own lives, thinking what we're wanting to see manifest in the world, we're going back, taking second looks, checking, have we got this right? Have we learned what we're supposed to learn from this? Have we, you know, sorted it out sufficiently? And so very much we're taking another peek. Now, once we get into 2026, we will reach a point where that doesn't happen anymore, and we are committed to a path. So very important at the moment what we're shaping, what we're dreaming. And I think this Libran new moon, those themes of justice, fairness, equality, beauty, those are all things to hold on to, self-worth, all of that range is very important for us to be holding on to at this time. So just a little detail, as well as the astrology, I'm a master herbalist, and an oracle deck that I really enjoy working with is this one, which is called the Herbal Astrology, and it's an oracle card, so you know, you pull a card, and I pulled a card for this new moon, and I got this one. And let me tell you a little bit about this. Particularly, I don't think you can see the two planets up here because it's an astrological herbal oracle. It gives you planets. And the herb that we're looking at here is Mitrachinia, the plant. Sorry, let me get this in. Oh, right, we can see now the glyphs at the top there for Saturn and Neptune. And can you see, we have the dragonfly and this idea of different forms emerging out of a globe, out of volcanoes, you know, out just new earth emerging there, new form emerging. And the card is called Shape Shifter. And since, you know, I've just been talking about this conjunction next year that we will have again at 0 degrees of Aries, and how very significant that is going to be, and how that is a real point of giving our dreams form, of shape-shifting, of changing, of birthing new things. I just love that this card came up with that planetary association and with that lovely message. There's another rather unusual thing about this new moon as well, and that is that there's an object or comet. Don't ask me what it is, I don't know, but there is a body that has come into our solar system called 3i Atlas, which is now forming what we call a superior conjunction with the Earth, one side, the Sun in the middle, and 3i Atlas is the other side of the Sun, and they're in a line. And of course, because it's a new moon, the moon is with the Sun as well. So these are all lined up, which seems rather significant. I'm not claiming to know either much about what 3i Atlas is or could mean, but certainly what we can say is that this is something new and different, and I think it could be interesting retrospectively to look back and ponder what, if any, meaning this has. But nevertheless, it's a new thing. Certainly, since we've been in a position to record and notice such things, we have never known anything like Three-Eye Atlas to enter our solar system. It's not to say it hasn't, but it's not been conscious. So that's important, isn't it? This idea of something new lining up there. So I have said that Libra is a sign concerned with justice and balance and fairness. And there is a forming square between the Sun and Moon in Libra and Pluto in Aquarius. It's out of sign square, but nevertheless it I think acts as a square there. So this sense of we're needing balance and justice because there is great imbalance, because there is injustice, there is this sense of an imbalance of power that I think we know about that, don't we, in our world? But that exists, and that is something that seeks to be redressed as we go forward. Now, it's also the case that we have in Scorpio Mars conjunct Mercury in Scorpio. Now, this can be feeling things really deeply and getting fired up from some very deep places. It can also be some really quite lacerating or threatening words, I think, that may be coming out from somewhere. And we've also got Black Moon Lilith, that exiled part of the feminine in there, also close by. So there's quite a sense there of wounding, perhaps, and giving voice to that. I think Mars in Scorpio is less prone to rash actions, but it can be a real thing about vengeance, and certainly with Mercury there, maybe a tendency to be dwelling obsessionally on things, on pains, on perceived hurts and outrages, and to be clinging on to those. But I think our message is not to allow that to become toxicity, a sort of toxic thing. Yes, and the conjunction of Mercury and Mars in Scorpio is trining Jupiter and Cancer. Now, we've talked a little bit in previous videos about Jupiter and Cancer it's a wonderful place for Jupiter to be, and it can be about extending very generously the sense of family and belonging beyond, because of Jupiter, beyond our immediate families, tribes, countries, to embrace the human race, to embrace our brotherhood, as it were. And that is trining the Mars-Mercury conjunction, where there may be this sense of having been wronged. So this can work in a variety of ways. It could, because it's Jupiter, fan up that sense of outrage and wrong, or it may go some way to be seeking to alleviate that by drawing into the bigger family, the bigger sense of nurturing and caring there. And Jupiter in Cancer is also coming into square. It's at 24 degrees of Cancer, and the Sun and Moon are at 28, but it's forming something of a square with the Sun and the Moon. And we know that squares are called to actions. And I've spoken about Jupiter in Cancer, embracing a bigger sense of who our family, who are we, where is home, and widening that idea to embrace beyond narrow limits. And that would be the challenge, wouldn't it, of restoring balance, harmony and justice that this Libran new moon would like to see. There is a grand water trine between Mars and Mercury in Scorpio, Saturn in Pisces, and Jupiter in Cancer. And I've already said that there are a lot of planets in air. Now, air and water as elements don't always understand each other too well. At its very best, air will be launching new concepts and water will be the emotional underpinning that will go with those, the heartfelt side of things. You know, this, it won't just be in the head, it will also be in the heart. But of course, it may also be that some of the concepts that the Libran moon would like to see come in are being slightly challenged there by some deep feelings, some deep woundings, you know, that may be saying, oh, hang on a minute, you know, this is too big and too deep and too old just to be released. And yet we know that we're being called to heal and release woundings. We've seen that in previous videos, you know, the eclipses and the full moon just gone and so on. So you know, those are two different ways that can manifest. I did card reading for the moon. I shuffled and pulled all the cards this week. And the first that I got was Ace of Wands. And this is a card of beginning, a card and also of launching inspiration, a great idea, a great passionate inspiration for something. And I think that's a beautiful thing for a new moon. I think that's perfect. And especially with this idea, as I said, of the Porimer and the prophecy and the arrows into the future, that fits very well. And this card, the Eight of Cups, the figure dressed in red, showing creativity, fertility, but walking away from the Eight Cups because there is more. As we know, there is more for us than the world that we know, than the familiar, and we are going to higher ground. And you know, we have the symbol of the eclipse there, the sun and the moon together. I'm thinking back to the eclipses that the eclipse season we've just gone through, and this shift to move away from the known and into the future. This card came up last time for the Aries full moon, the Queen of Cups. And I spoke then about how do we move from where we are only by empathy, only by compassion, and only by healing self and other. Only by that can we move forward, by tuning into the heart. So let's hope that what I was saying a minute or two ago about the water element that's here, the grand water trine, that helps us to do this. And then ultimately reaching a more fulfilled future for mankind, for the family of man, that is embracing those qualities of love, compassion, and extending the idea of family, that Jupiter in Cancer idea. So, an interesting pull of cards there, I think. I want to take just a moment, as I wind up this video, to talk about the concept of beauty, which is a part of Venus and the Libran new moon here. And we can think, you know, that beauty is perhaps a trivial thing, but in my estimation, it really, really isn't. I think creating beauty in your life, in your surroundings, perceiving beauty, appreciating beauty, I believe is a deep psychic protection. I feel it is a blessing and protective energy. It's certainly one that's very positive, as is finding the joy in life, those things that spark joy, to be joyous, even when the world is hard. I think that is so important because I think it offers protection and it helps us shape the most positive of outcomes and not the negative ones. And I'd like to end today, and thank you so much if you stayed with me this far. I really appreciate you doing that. It's great to have your company. But I would like, just as I go, a parting shot, to just give you a tiny quotation from the American poet Max Ehrmann, from his poem Desiderata. And he was a Libran. So that tunes into our Libran New Moon, I think. And his words are, with all of its sham and drudgery and broken dreams, it's still a beautiful world. And I really believe that this Libran New Moon is asking us to tune into that, to hold on to that, because it's a very, very precious thing. So, bye-bye, and I will see you in the next one.